Welcome to the Enter the Mind podcast.
The most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind.
Why enter the mind? Because it's that room in your house that's been there all along that you've never gone into.
Well, now it's time to enter with two mind coaches dedicated to self-help and the thriving of all human beings.
I'm Kyra Carlin.
And I'm Robert Nelson.
Welcome to Enter the Mind.
In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about self-expression. All right, before we get into that, how are you doing this week, Kyra?
I'm doing super good. I went out for tacos and tequila last night, skipped the tacos. Heavy on the tequila. How are you, Robert?
Cool. I am good. I'm heavy on coffee this morning. So, yeah, the
Love it.
beverages that make our lives worth living.
Agreed.
So, self-expression. I'll start this off with like a story. I guess it does kind of tie into our topic recently, which was living a life true to yourself and the importance of doing that in order to not have regrets. Now, if it's important, if we both agree that it's important to live a life true to ourselves, then the question is, how do we truly express ourselves? How do we know when we're really expressing ourselves versus kind of containing? Or I think a lot of people are conditioned to press the mute button on themselves as they're growing up, and that leads to a bunch of adults, and it leads to a bunch of children who speak freely and a bunch of adults who hold back everything that they truly want to say. And so a quick story on that. I was a few years back, I was in, when I lived back in Chicago, I was taking this class for nursing, right? I was thinking of doing nursing as a career, and I took the initial class to do that, right? Well, in that class, there was another guy, two other guys. It was all females for the rest of the class. But this other guy was really cool. He was very he just kind of said what was on his mind, and he was sort of a class clown, but he wasn't trying to be. You know, there's some people that are like, you can tell that they're trying to get a reaction. This dude was just like in his own world, like he's just like whatever. He just had no filter, and he would just say it, and it was funny, you know, because he was a funny guy, but like he would just say it. So anyways, one day we're starting to learn this procedure called an enema. Do you know what an enema is?
I want to say yes, but no.
It's when the nurse sticks a tube up your butt and it ejects water, right? So to cleanse, like your rectum will cleanse your colon or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So basically sticking a tube up someone's butt.
Like a colonic.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So this guy in my class, right after the teacher started the lesson, he goes, "I can't wait to give my first enema."
Wow.
And everybody starts laughing, right? And this Filipino teacher that we've got, she goes, "Excuse me, what was that?" And everybody kind of like freezes, and they're like, "Oh, like she heard that, like now what's gonna happen, right? Like this is gonna be awkward. Now he's gonna have to like kind of softly apologize and be like, nothing, nothing, never mind, right?" This dude says, "I said, I can't wait to do my first enema."
Wow.
And I was like, that's ownership right there. That's great. This dude, whatever he says, he takes 100% ownership of it. None of this, BS, oh, never mind, no, just ignore what I said, blah, 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 those are self-effacing, whatever, techniques or whatever, communication things, right? It's making yourself smaller. And so that's kind of, I guess, the starting point for this idea, like how often do you think like, do you, in your day-to-day life, do you see people holding themselves back?
100%. I definitely,
And why do you think people do that?
because they're scared. I mean, oh, rightfully, truthfully, I mean, people have been judged and mistreated for who they are. So as they've grown up, they've learned what to say and what not to say to specific people. But sometimes we're a little bit too consumed with that. Like, I completely understand as we get older, we learn to say and what not to say to specific people, but at the same time, if you take it too far, you wind up filtering yourself, and you don't you're not able to express who you truly are. And I think that that's a major part of life, because I think that the one thing that everybody wants on this earth is to truthfully just be happy. And I think that you're happiest when you're expressing yourself. So, it's like when you're going on a first date and you met them on a dating app or whatever, and it's actually funny because I've had this happen a few times, where I meet up with him, great guy, and everything, very good looking, but there's a barrier, almost because we're on a date. So you kind of have to have this specific facade, but if it winds up not working out with them and I decide that I'm not interested in them, all of a sudden it's like I change and I start being my real self. And in turn, they actually like me more. So it's really interesting how that works. I definitely see people who hide it all the time. And I think it's because, we've just filtered ourselves a little bit too much.
I've noticed this thing. I'm curious if you've noticed it too, but where people I've met over the years, some very good people, but very, very quiet and very like reluctant to speak up. And the commonality in I'm talking about a handful of people, maybe two, three, four, five people that I can think of specifically. All of them had very angry fathers that were, their fathers were very, sometimes physically abusive, but certainly like verbally, and kind of just aggressive and like, and I've seen it over and over, and it's very interesting to me, being, and being a psychology fan or whatever, because then it tells me that they've been conditioned, right? Do you think that's possible? Like that a parent that's like very angry and it's like, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm gonna get out the belt if you, right? Do you think that can train people to like, it conditions them to hold back, right?
Yes. Yes. 100%. Especially because, we don't have anyone growing up. So whatever our teachers say or our parents say, we learn to suppress ourselves. And that's fucked up. Honestly, if you ask me, it's fucked up. I can't stand the way that schools are. And I'm not saying the parents are bad, because they're not. They're, great people, and they're doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have. But what in your right mind would ever make you think that it is okay to suppress your child from expressing themselves truthfully and being who they are? And I think that the only logical answer for that is that they have learned to suppress their feelings and suppress, they have learned what to say and what not to say. And so they're trying to help us learn what to say and what not to say. But what they don't understand is that we are we and they are them. And same with teachers, it's, oh God. I mean, do you think that school has a part in it?
Oh, definitely. I was in kindergarten when I remember very clearly, I was playing house with the girls in the classroom, and there was this one moment where we took on different roles, and I was then playing the role of like the horse. So I was started to gallop around the classroom, right? Well, within about 5 seconds of me starting to gallop, and I was happy. I was like, I'm going to play this role like none other. I'm going to be the best horse that there ever was. I'm going to gallop exactly the way a horse gallops, right? 5 seconds into that, the teacher comes by. Robert, timeout, you're running in the classroom. She made me sit in the timeout chair, and I was pissed. I was pissed because I was not violating the classroom rules and I wasn't endangering anybody. I was about to win an Emmy award for my acting performance. That's what I was about to do. And she made me sit in the timeout chair. And, you know, and that, that conditioned me, you know, and I was like, okay, well, now I know not to do that. Now, here's the thing, okay? And this is the insight that I have here, because you kind of were, you were shedding light onto this, which is there is some value in, like, you have to learn like when to keep your mouth shut, right? Like there are times where it's like, okay, it's clearly not socially appropriate to say this or that, right? But then at the same time, it's something totally different to like express yourself, and in a way where you're not actually disturbing the social environment. And so to me, I like this term called social violation, right? A social violation is just something that it's like a social faux pas, or something where it's like it's socially inappropriate, right? Like you don't want to, like it's not really socially appropriate to be like, to, you know, be on a plane, an airplane, and then start a joke that you've got a bomb or something, right? What was that? You're going to talk about masturbating?
Not socially appropriate to masturbate on a plane. But no, yours was way better.
Right. We'll get to that one in the next episode, guys, so pay attention. But no, it's like, it's not socially appropriate because it's going to cause people to like panic, right? It's not wrong to make jokes on an airplane, but it's not a good idea to make jokes about, you know, firearms or bombs or something, right? So then it crosses the line from self-expression into social violation.
Agreed.
And that's where the problem is. So I think it's okay to teach children, like, okay, there's certain things that you don't say in certain environments, but that's to this side. To the other side is, however, let's hear you read your own poetry. Let's hear you, you know, let's hear you talk about this drawing that you did and what it means to you. This is right. All of that encourages us to speak our truths. You see what I mean?
I definitely do. And I think it takes a toll on certain people. And eventually they can't handle it anymore. So they wind up having to express themselves. When you have so many suppressed things inside of you that are trying to get out, and you just keep suppressing them, keep hiding them. And really, I think that suppressing is the best word. And eventually, I think that there's something inside of all of us that is like, fuck this. Like, fuck this. I can't say anything I want. I can't do anything I want. I can't say something to the people that I hang out with because they're too insecure and will take it as a jab, you know? So you need to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are accepting of who you are and are confident themselves. You know, it's like, it's like if you have a friend that you can't joke around with, you know, which means that you have to suppress your jokes around them, which means that you might get a preconceived notion that other people care about your jokes and are insecure about them as well. So then you suppress your jokes there. And it's kind of like an ongoing thing. And the next thing you know, you can't suppress any of your jokes. And you're like, oh, God, I have so many funny jokes, you know? And when somebody is secure with themselves, you can make loads of jokes. And also with self-expression, I think it also comes down to how we dress, which I think is really, really cool, because we're these fucking humans that are like here on earth, and each and every one of us has our own style that we get to choose ourselves to give an idea of who we are. And I think that self-expression as well, the way we talk, the choice of language, you know, it's all self-expression through your poetry, your art. And I just think it's like really important to self-express yourself. I mean, don't you think that like if we didn't express ourselves, like wouldn't everyone be the same?
Yeah, we would resemble more primitive species like alligators, where it's hard to tell the difference between one alligator and the other. But we are much more evolved than that. So, but here's an idea. What if we had a class for kids that taught them how to find their sense of fashion? Wouldn't that be cool if there's a class in school? Because I feel like I was never taught that. I was never like, I don't identify as like an artsy person, right? But over the last maybe 5 years or so, I've kind of been taking more of an interest in fashion, and it's cool. But it's like, I wonder if, because you're just going to model after your parents, you know what I mean? To some degree, you just model. But I feel like, what if we had a fashion expert go into schools and teach kids like how to really express themselves through their clothing?
Now, I think that would be an absolutely tremendous idea. Imagine a school like that where you had a expert fashionista come in and help you choose your wardrobe based on your likes, based on the music you listen to, based on the way you talk. Like that would be really, really cool. And then they would be able to stick with that for the rest of their lives, and they would know what a true form of expression is. And not only that, but like, what if like there was like a class where they taught you how to express yourself? So I was reading this book and it was called It Didn't Start With You. Did you read it?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, so it's actually pretty good. I stopped reading it because it wasn't exactly what I thought it was, but it had some extremely deliciously valid points in there. And in it, he was talking about how, say a bunch of words, like write them out, speak what's on your mind, and then the ones that have the most energetic vibration, like those are the words that are attached to you. So it's like, what if there was a class where like somebody came in, you know, an expert of some sort, and they were like, they had everyone talk in just sentences, and they studied them, and they found out which words were energetically strong and connected to that individual, and they could also show them how to express themselves through those words and through the words that have the most energetic vibration to them. You know, I mean, like schools could be so magnificent in the future if you know, people take a hold of these ideas, which I will, planning on opening a school someday. But yeah, I mean, self-expression, it's life. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm writing down, finding words that vibrate, something to that effect. You know, finding the words that kind of resonate with you. Now, is it life? Is self-expression life? I think that, pardon me while I consume more coffee. It's interesting because growing up, you know, I did I don't know what the state of the current state of funding is these days for for fine arts classes in schools, but at least when I was growing up, there was some funding still, and so I went to art class. I had dance class. I had um, drama class, and it was at the time I didn't see the value in it, unfortunately. Nowadays, I see the value in it. And I feel like, I don't know if it's just a function of like being in the workplace. If you think of the corporate world, it really doesn't encourage too much self-expression. You just kind of have to do your reports and get your assignments done and things like that. Certainly there's, oh, who I wanted to talk about is, that singer, Cyndi Lauper. She sang Girls Just Want to Have Fun in the 1980s, right? So I was watching the show, The Celebrity Apprentice. And so in one of the seasons, she's one of the celebrity competitors. And there's this scene where the challenge of the episode was to create some sort of like what do you call it? It was something artistic. It was like create a musical jingle for this, company, for a commercial. And as soon as everyone was notified that that was the challenge for that episode, they thought, okay, well, then they rounded up all of the artistic celebrities, like the singers and the musical performers, and those individuals led their teams. So on the other team, Cyndi Lauper was on one team, and then on the other team was Boy George, who's that guy from England that sang Karma Chameleon and other things, right? So yeah, but check out his video, the music video for Karma Chameleon. It's like it's really weird. It's like I feel like it's very self-expressing, or it's just so different. Like the colors and everything is just like out of this world. Anyways, my story about Cyndi Lauper. So then she's starting to train her voice for to sing this musical jingle, right? And she does these like voice. She's like, and she's got a New York accent. So she's like, I've been doing singing for 20 years and I know exactly what to do, whatever. And then she does this vocal warm-ups. And so she oinks and she's like, and she's like, but it was just funny watching her. It sounds funny. It sounds comical, right? But when she did that, like she could literally like change the quality of her voice. Like she literally had control over it. The way I love, these Michael Jordan analogies, but the way Michael Jordan could control a basketball, Cyndi Lauper was able to control her voice through these just different, like, nasal, exercises and things, right? So that it's just so much command, having so much command over the way you express yourself. And then she had this quality where she just doesn't have the filter, right? So that's another thing that kind of it keeps coming up in today's episode, right? Is this idea of like a filter and when to have it and when not to have it. But it's self-expression life. I think it's very, very important because people need to know who you are and you need to express who you are. But I guess my question would be, what's the strategy for that? What are the mechanics of it?
Personally, I think it's just not being impulsive, but just kind of saying what's on your mind, of course with control, but like I think that self-expression has to do with expressing yourself. Everyone knows that they have thoughts. Everyone knows their urges. Everyone knows if they're excited or if they're sad. And I remember I wanted to bring this up because for some reason, when you brought up the self expression topic to me today, I was thinking to myself, my sister is an awesome representation of self expression. When she's sad, she shows it. When she's exasperated, she shows it. When she's excited, she shows it. And it's been this way for like such a long time. And I remember when she would get really excited. Now, my sister's 31. And when she would get really excited, and she still does sometimes, but she would like screech at the top of her lungs, clap her hands, and she'd scream really, really loud. And then she'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'd be like, what's up? And she'd be like, girl, I'm excited. And I'm like, I love that. And I think it's really cool when people are able to express themselves, if they're excited or if they're sad or, anything, or if they're feeling for someone or if they have feelings for someone, I think it's the strategy for that is paying attention to who you really are. And it's obviously nothing that's going to happen overnight, but when you pay attention to who you really are, that becomes your self-expression. Like we all have things that come out of our mouths that aren't really us per se, and we're kind of like, whoa, like that didn't really sound like me. Okay, well, analyze it, put it in the noggin, see if that portrays a true self-expression of who you are, or if it portrays a false expression of who you are, and maybe it's just been a condition. And then after that, you must be kind with yourself, and instead of leaping at yourself with judgment and harassment and harsh words, be curious about it, just as you would be curious about somebody else. And if you think about it, would you want a friend who can't express themselves and kind of just takes everything from everybody else, and every word that comes out of their mouth, it's not actually real or true? I mean, I wouldn't want a friend like that. I wouldn't want a friend who kind of just goes with status quo, and no, thank you, because you're fake. And for those listening, I mean, I'm not calling you fake if you're having troubles with self-expression. I'm talking about like, just like, I personally wouldn't want a friend who can't express themselves, because self-expression is everything. So yeah, I think that the strategy is just to pay attention to yourself and witness when it's fake and witness when it's real, and then take those real bits and fucking hold them so dear to your heart.
That's a good.
What do you think the strategy is?
It's a good approach, I think, because it reminds me of how I try to catch my self-limiting beliefs, and the way that I try to catch them is kind of by monitoring and watching them as they come into my mind. And I think that's what you were saying, right? Is that but in terms of self-expression, like you have these thoughts, and then you kind of examine them to see if it's truly a thought of your own, or a thought that someone else put in your mind. Am I getting it right?
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like it's the best analogy is just like, like some sort of bouncer at the club or security guard at the entrance to your mind, where you just kind of inspect every person that's coming in and kind of look them up and down, maybe pat them down. There it is. We need to pat down our thoughts, or we need to pat down our internal dialogue, right? And catch the things that come through our mind and flag them as either self-empowering or self-limiting, and also flag them as self or non-self.
That's pretty cool. I like the way that you approach that. I like the connection that you made between like the limiting beliefs, and you said like limiting belief or helpful belief, and then, you know, self or not self. And I think that's really, really interesting, because it's definitely, I think that that's a brilliant way to look at it. I really, really like that. But um, it's like, it's it's such a process to be able to be okay with yourself, and trusting with yourself, and at ease enough with yourself in order to label something self and not self. Um, because there is a deeply embedded voice in some of our heads that is so fucking harsh. And when we get something wrong, we're like, fuck, 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 fuck you, stupid bitch, fuck, stupid fucking bitch, fuck. And you can't hear this consciously, because it's suppressed. And if you're not aware enough and trusting enough and at ease enough with yourself, then when you get something wrong, like if something comes out of your voice that isn't entirely you, you're going to be like, stupid bitch. And it's going to keep on happening until you take that moment, take a little breath, and be like, it's okay, it's not me, it's just something that I've learned, and it may have helped me in the past, but right now it doesn't help me. And it's not getting me any further. It's not helping me anymore. So it is okay to let go of that. And I'm not angry at myself for harboring this belief, because it's just now it came to my attention, which means that I am smart enough to allow this to come into my vision and my consciousness. And I am at ease enough with myself to where I won't judge myself or be mad at myself for it, because it's there. I found it out, and it's just time to sweep it away in time. In time, it will go away. And, you know, I think that that's just something that most people struggling with self-expression really need to know. Just practice defining whether you are and your thoughts are self or not self, you know, and keep at it for years, because those layers will peel away and your self-expression will bloom. Trust me.
Yeah. Um, one of the ways I've been looking at it is it seems like our internal dialogue, our silent internal dialogue, right, which is the things that we say in our heads.
Yeah.
Our silent internal dialogue was once someone's external dialogue that we heard. And
Wow.
And then really it's other people just saying these things, which are manifestations, as we know, as without, so below, right? Is that the phrase?
As above, so below, as within, so without.
Right. Yes. Yes. Good. Thank you. Yeah. So their outward expressions are saying something about their mindset. It's a manifestation of their mindset that is put out into the world through this, through their voice. When they say something, we hear that, we pick it up, that becomes an internal voice in our head. So, and the way that I caught this recently was I was doing it even like, anytime there's like just some sort of like, what would be an example? I don't know. Like, let's say I'm washing the dishes. This is a very ordinary example. I'm washing the dishes, right? And I finish this dish and I finish washing it. So it's all clean, right? And then the phone rings, and then like I go to try to pick up the phone too quick and I drop the dish back into the sink. So now it's dirty again. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm like, and then in my head, I'm like, oh man. And I caught that and I was like, that's interesting internal dialogue. Is that helpful to me or is it not? Does it make it a bigger deal than it really is? And then, but then I asked myself, I said, now who do I know in my life that speaks that way with that same tonality and that same, right? Mm-hmm. Oh man. I said, who speaks that way? And I figured it out. And I was like, wow, I actually know exactly who in my life speaks like that. And I realize I just internalized their external dialogue.
Yeah. Oh God, I love that so much. That's the second ping for you today. That is really, really good. And I think it's really interesting because it can happen anywhere, like ranging from people or to shows. And for some reason, when you said, "Oh man," I thought of like Johnny Bravo or like SpongeBob SquarePants, you know, and like their external dialogue becomes our internal dialogue. And the question is, how does that happen? How are we able to listen to somebody and unconsciously take something in? And I think that the answer is that through our past conditioning, our subconscious is it's trained to take in what we think we need. So it's trained to disregard information that we don't need and trained to um, I guess internalize information that we do need. So say I heard the word flabbergasted, right? And my self expression has to do with being quirky, being different, using words that other people don't use. So that would be is something internalized for me because it's important to me, consciously or subconsciously. It's important to me because I am weird and I like to collect weird words. So that would be labeled as a word that I would want to use. Like, oh, I'm flabbergasted, you know? So I think that when those things get internalized, it's only because our subconscious is trained to think that it is important. And I think it's really, really interesting because if you don't get to the bottom of what is important to you and what is not, then you will just be taking things into your life, your whole life, that could possibly not even be important to you, which is why self-expression is so needed. So that way you can understand who you are, why you have the clothes you have. You know, I'm wearing this dress because I like it when my tattoos show. I like my shoulders showing, you know, that's important to me. So you know, I think that it comes down to that with self-expression and filtering the thoughts that come inside your mind and understanding you know, why you have certain things in there. Why is this thought in here? And what made it so important at that time? Is it because I was is it because I had a belief that in order for me to get attention, I had to say stupid things? Is that why I have such a big, large collection of really stupid things that don't make any fucking sense in my brain? Is that the only way that somebody would pay attention to me? Okay, well, great. That's awesome. Maybe that worked in high school, but it's not working now, and it's not getting me anywhere closer to where I want to be. So now it's my job to filter out those thoughts so I can authentically express myself and be who I am and move forward.
Yeah, totally. You just inspired in me an idea, which is the filter. The filter needs to filter incoming data from the outside coming in, not filter outgoing data. That, right?
I think I see it.
Because the filter, there's two ways to think about a filter. You could think of, oh, that person has no filter, so they just say whatever is on their mind, right? So so that means that's talking about a filter of your thoughts going out into the universe, and whether there's a filter there or not.
Oh, but
There's,
it needs to be reversed.
yeah, so the filter is, there's nothing wrong with a filter, but the filter needs to work the opposite way. It needs to be turned around so that whatever is going on around us, we filter whatever gets into here, into our mind.
Yes.
Right. So we got to filter the incoming, not the outgoing.
Yes. I love that. 100% agreed. Wham, bam for the third motherfucking time today.
Thank you.
That was a great one.
All right. I do need to get a little bit wrapped up here and get on the way. with my day. So any final thoughts, reflections?
Any final thoughts? I mean, seriously, just express yourself. There have been plenty of nuggets of gold in today's episode. 3 from Robert, 1 from me. So definitely take notice to that gold, and put it in there. And thank you so much for watching and listening. And I hope that we've inspired you here today to go out and truly express yourself as who you are, because the world needs it, and it'll definitely make you a lot happier.
Right on, Kyra. Great points made today, as always. And I think you're a good model of self-expression. So while I analyze it logically and pick it apart, I hope people, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you, like on a podcast platform, make sure you also check out the YouTube versions, because to see it on the video is a little bit different. I think there's a little bit more conveyed through the videos. But whatever platform you're watching or listening on, if this was helpful to you, then write some comments and share it with your friends, so that we can really, really help humanity level up when it comes to understanding our own minds. So, all right, thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.